Okay, so let's see live. Maybe football API. Okay.
Can you try the soccer?
Soccer. Okay, you can try soccer. Sometimes when you look at the API, they show it as free, and then it's not free, and then yeah, you get duped. Let's see the ones that I already know. I know the animals ones. I know let's try the NASA one. NASA has a nice API where like everything, you could see everything. So we have a lot of stuff here. Earth, okay, let's see. Mars rover photos, okay. Maybe let's try that. So this one, what does it do? Shows photos. Okay, API example. Ooh, okay, shows a lot of stuff. Okay, JSON, created by, okay, something. Beautify, I don't know, formatter. It's a lot of data. So this shows photo, so there's different photos. Okay, so it's a photo, ID, camera, and then we have an image, which is a JPEG, so that's nice. So we have an image and some information. So we could say we grab the date, and then the camera. No, we don't need the camera. So let's just grab, let's grab the rover name, the image, and the date, something like that. So let's just use that. I'm just going to use this. So we need our API key. Whenever you use a NASA, you need an API key. So let's just say Gabby school. Let's just say go to school 2021 gmail.com. Sign up. So this is all we need. So we're going to use, let's just use Code Sandbox instead of setting up the whole thing. We don't have a lot of time to set up. So I'm just going to start a new sandbox. And I think I'm recording now. So yeah, so we have the React setup now. So I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do setup first. So I'm showing the image, the name, the date. So I'm showing all that stuff. So we're just gonna show a couple of images, a couple of information. So in our example, also we're gonna do some navigation. So let's import React router down. We need Axios. I think that's it. So let's set up a component folder, components. Let's add few files. So I'll say this one. I'll show I'll create a file where it shows the information, the data, on a component, and then a component that that kind of like loops through the stuff. So the one would be something like I would say something like Mars card .js. So that would be the card. That would be when you see a card, it means like that it just renders only the information. It doesn't care about anything else. It just gets information, it renders. And then if you say another component, you don't have to do this. We could say Mars images. So this would be rendering, like looping through all the images basically. We'll just say that. So we have two components there, and then we're gonna render the data here, the API, and then pass it here, and then this is gonna loop through it, and then after that, this is gonna show it. Also, we need a navigation, so we're just gonna, so the navigation, what are we gonna use for the navigation? So maybe let's show the photos in one page, and then the information on another page. So just for the sake of having two different things and showing you the navigation, we don't have to do that. So I'm going to call here navbar.js. Okay, I'm not sure if we're going to do this in an hour, but I'm going to try my best. And also stop me if you're confused about something anytime. I'm going to make this smaller because we don't need it right now. And here we're just going to put H1 Mars rovers. And if you guys know, I'm obsessed with NASA and space and all that stuff. So H1. Okay. So we need to import a couple of things. Import React from React, but also we need to import the use state and use effect, right? So this is usually for use state. This is for like if we render in the information use effect. Okay. So when we do that, what we can do is we can first, so let's create the state. So I'm going to call the state, I'm going to call it rovers. And this one is going to be set rovers. And then we're going to say use state. And I'm going to set it to a empty array. So if you don't know what data is coming back, you just set it to an empty array. And here we're going to use effect. So we're just going to say that and then create a callback function inside it. So this callback function is what renders the information. So the use effect, as you guys know, if you're not sure about it, is a way to control something that you have no control over. You don't have control over the API. So now Hansamen and Amarka, we're kind of rendering the API inside the use effect, so that if there's any side effect, it doesn't affect our application. And also when you're using use effect, you have to have that for this is basically to make sure that you don't it's gonna go forever. It's gonna go in loop forever if you don't have that empty. This is a condition, part of the use effect. And here we're just gonna render the API. So we're gonna say Axios dot. So we have, it already kind of imported Axios for us. Get. And here we're just gonna put the link here. Not that. That's a lot. I meant this URL. So you have to put the whole URL. Otherwise it will not work. And when you're using NASA, you have to have the API key. Let me toggle this. Okay, and then the next step is to say that then. So after you get the information from the API, then what happens? What happens to the information? So we're going to pass it to another callback function. So that callback function would be, we're going to say response. You can name whatever you want there. So let's callback function. And inside here, you could console log the information that comes back, but eventually you have to set it to the state. You have to set it to the state. You have to send it there. So we're going to say here response. And also you have to have the catch. And this is also another callback function, which will have error. And if you don't understand what this is, how this is set up, it's all about just copying and pasting, really. Like that's how I learned. I learned by knowing that if I really want to call an API, I have to call it this way inside React. I know like how the Axios is, how to set it up. I don't need to worry about all these nested functions. I'm just gonna copy this, and then every project I have, I'm just gonna change this part, and also I'm gonna change whatever the state is. I'm gonna send it to. So you're gonna say set rovers, and then you're gonna put the data. And also you have to understand what data is coming back. So that's also really, really important. So that's why I always console log the data. So now if you do that and save it, I don't know why the proper thing is not showing. Let's look at the data that comes back. Gonna say here, gonna okay, I don't know why it's okay, can wait. So it's giving us an error. Not sure where the error is coming from. Let's clear it up. Let's save it. It's taking forever every time it loads. So there's something is wrong. Access.get. Okay. That's the problem. That's fine. So because the data is too much. Oh, yeah, the data is a lot. Okay, so if that's the case, then what we could do is we can let's take this one to a new window. Okay, let's just close this. I think the data is a lot, so we might need to figure out a way to make it smaller. Find another data. Mars rovers images. Okay. What is this one? Yeah, I think this one is not a lot of images. Why is that the reason? Okay, camera. Okay, this is a specific camera. Okay, I see. So maybe what we could do is we could set up one for like the camera itself. I'm not sure. So we have the data here. Let's just go here and inspect. Yeah, we have it right here. So usually I just look at it and I look for like data. So most of APIs, you'll have data. If you don't have data, then you have to figure out the way to see where the information is. So data, we have this team that, okay, there's nothing here. What? I think we're using the wrong UI. Okay, I think it's the wrong one. So we were looking for this. So let's just copy from here. Oh, we can make it smaller. Okay, let's maybe get like 50 here. And copy that. So you have to understand where the data is coming from and how it's rendered, all that stuff. That's one important aspect of rendering the data correctly. So if we save this, I'll go back here, refresh it, and we have error. 403 probably means like our link is wrong. So we have to go back here and maybe we have to find a different okay, so what we're looking for is the photos from Mars rovers. So to get the API, we need, this is the API. Maybe we don't need our own specific, because it's already shown us. So maybe we don't need all this. Just do that. Save it. Refresh. Yeah, so we don't need, I think, all that data. As you can see, it shows 856. Maybe if we change this number to like 50, it's going to show us 50, and that'll be easier to render. So if you have a lot of data, it's hard to render. Still showing us, so it's much smaller. So now we have to make our number much smaller. So let's do something like 5. Save, fresh, data. Oh, it's not showing us anything. There's nothing. Kind of have to figure out what you need to show. We're avoiding stuff now, but usually I'll explain the API and what you need to show. So let me just refresh this. Yeah, 26 is manageable. So 26 of them, 26 photos is much more manageable. Okay, so now we have our API set up. It's showing in data. So we'll say response.data, and then that's where the photos are rendered. So let's send that to our state. So if you want to send that data to a state, you say set rovers, which is this. It's the second part of the state, and then you say response dot data. That's the data we're trying to send it to the to there. Now we could just remove this console log. We don't need it right now. And you could console log the state to make sure that you've got the information. So we say rovers, and that's how you spell rovers. And then you could mark it and say this one is a state. This is how you mark your console log. Now, you see, so it says a state, it rendered like 4 times. And we have it. We have all the photos here. So let's inspect each photo, like specific photo. Specific photo has a camera. It has the camera information here. It has the date, Earth date. It has the image, which has the actual image link. It has rovers, which is a object, and that rovers has a rover name, and that's how we will get it. So now let's pass that information to other states. Okay. So far, any questions? How we set this up? Any confusion? How we got the information to the state and all that? Okay. So let's send the data to another component. So how do you send a data to another component? Can somebody walk me through how do we send this data to Mars images?
You have to import.
The info?
Import.
I don't think I can hear well. Let me put my audio up. What did you say?
You have to import to where you're trying to.
So, yes, so we have to import the component itself, right? So we say Mars images from components, and then it's slash Mars images. But keep in mind that Mars images is not actual components right now. There's nothing in there. So let's create a component. So we'll say import React. If it was my editor, I would just say one word and it will create the components for me from React. I'll say here function Mars images. And usually we need to have props here because we're going to pass props to it. And here we say return, and we're going to return some JSX. So we can say div, and here div. You have to have a parent element when you're returning a JSX. A parent element is this. You cannot have one div here and then have another div here. You can't do that. So this will not work. You have the one parent. You have to put all this in one div. So inside this div, we can render H2 and call it Mars images. So I'm going to say H2. And the last step, what is the last step?
Export default.
Export default, yeah. So if you don't export it, it will not work. You might actually see sometimes being exported here. So you could also say export default like that. And then just, we don't need this too. So those are the 2 ways to do it. Okay, save that. If we go back here, and okay, so we imported. What's the next step if we want to send the state, this state to this component. What is the next step?
You're gonna show it in the def.
In here?
Yeah, yeah, right there. You're gonna open Untitled.
Uh-huh.
What is that? The name of that one, Mars. What was it? Mars image.
Mars images, okay. And then we close it.
I think you close it there.
Okay, we close it, but also we have to pass the props, right?
Okay, we're gonna say Mars image equals, and then open the bracket, yep, right there, and put Mars image again.
Mars images here
Or do you put set rovers?
or set rovers? What do you guys think? What do we put here? Remember, we're passing all the data that comes back from this API to this component. So where did we store that data?
Rovers.
Rovers, yeah. Because remember, we set it here. So if you say set rovers, which is the second part of the state, it takes all the information and sets it to this. So that's where it sends it to. So, so let me just draw it. So the information we get from here, so this is a function, and response to that data is the data that comes back from our API, which is the photos or the images, and then set rovers is a function for the state, and its job is to send this data to here, which is the first part of the state, right? So it stores all the information in rovers, and then that's why we console logged it here, and it showed us all the images. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to send this data in the rovers, which is the images, to this component right here through props. We're sending it through props. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're taking this data and we're putting it right here, right? And this is the component that we created, Mars images. The name of that data that we chose, a random name, like you can name it whatever you want, is this Mars images. So you could call it Mars images, rovers, rover images, whatever you want. But you have to keep in mind that you have to use that same name when you go to that component. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let us, okay, so we're gonna pass rovers here, which is all the images, right? And we call it Mars images. Let's make it similar and call it Mars, or you could call it rovers. Sometimes it's best to basically call the data the same name of the data, so there's no confusion. So these are the rovers, the image rovers of the images. So all we have to do now is go here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna console log. So this is what I usually do. You console log props. Remember, we put props here, and you want to know that you got the data props from Mars images.
You have to say props equals rovers
So
in Mars images. Yeah.
So
before the console log.
No, you just put props here. So this is all the data. If you want to destructure it, you could do that. We can destructure it. But now all I want to know is, did I get this data? Did I get it? So let's just remove this console log. Save it, go back here, and then refresh it. And as you can see, we got the component showing the title component. Fresh, as you can see, we have props from Mars. We open it, we have photos, we have rovers, and this is the name that we chose, rovers. So this is the name we chose in app.js right here. So if we call it something like Somali, save it, and we render this again, as you can see, it shows Somali, right? And that shows all the photos here. So now let's go back to the rovers. So we have the data. So we have to go through. We have to go through rovers dot photos, and then we're gonna get each image. So that's what we're gonna map through. So that would be our path, rovers.photos.map. And that's how we're going to map everything. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So right here we have all the image. So now we can destructure it. We can say here, we can say const, and we called it rovers, and then we could say equal to props that no, here we're gonna call it because we have the we removed the console log. So we're gonna call here dot rovers, and then here it's gonna be photos, because remember it was rovers dot photos. So we can destructure it that way. Hopefully that's not confusing. And I can show you if we console log it again. So let's quickly console log it again. Let's say props. And go back here. As you can see here, it says rovers. And then after that, it says photos, right? So all we're doing is just we're destructuring for this one. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do the mapping, right? So we're going to do the mapping, and then we're going to pass the data that comes back, which is each photo. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Each photo, we're going to pass it to the component that we called Mars cards or Mars card. So that's going to show each one of them one at a time, right? And we have to choose some data that we're going to show. So that is our kind of plan. So let's do the mapping. So to do the mapping inside JSX, what do we need to do? How do we map inside JSX? And the JSX is, remember, the actual HTML that we have right there, the div. Remember that you cannot write a JavaScript inside HTML. So we can't say this, we can say photos.map. If we do that and save it, it's literally going to show that here. So we need to find a way to basically
Curly brackets?
Curly brackets, yeah. So curly brackets means you're basically trying to show a JavaScript inside the HTML. So right here, I don't know why it became like that. Div, and another div. So we're going to use curly brackets to do any JavaScript related stuff in JSX. So we're going to say photos.map. And here we're going to have the callback function. And here is going to be each photo. So usually you call the singular of this here because it's each one.
But I thought the data for photos is just rovers and it's not rovers.photo.
Yes, I was showing you here in the console log. If we go back here and kind of remove this, I'll show you that why it's like that. So if we look at the console log here, we have the rovers, the name of the rovers, we have it. It's right here, right? But inside it is photos, right? So rovers is the top name, and then there's another name called photos that came with the data. So we destructured. So this is how we destructured. We put the rovers here, maps.rovers. It's just like saying maps.rovers.photos. And that's what we're mapping over. This is what we're mapping over. So even we don't need to even do all this destruction. You could just say here, I don't know why it's keep going back to that. We could just say, we could just have the whole link and have, let's put the div here, another div here. We could do this. We could say props.rovers.photos and then map. It's a really long link, but
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
yeah, that's how it's kind of connected. So the one we created inside it was photos. So we're gonna say here photo, and then open here the curly bracket, and then we're gonna do return. So this return, we are returning this component. Why are we returning this component? Because we want to pass photo, which is one image, which is one of the images. We don't have it here now. One image. We want to pass that to Mars card. We want that component to render that information, right? So that's all we want. So now we're just going to import that. So we're going to say Mars. So it's gonna, it didn't render, not Mars images, Mars card. Okay, we don't want that. Mars card, which is a component that we created. We have to import it. So we're gonna see here photo equal to, we're gonna say photo here. This is our, it's each photo. So this is each photo that we look through. And here we close it like that. So any questions about how I sent that data to Mars card component? Now I'm just importing that. Any question about this, how this works? So I named this myself. You can name it whatever you want. It's the props name. And then what I did was I sent the data, each line of the data to each photo to Mars card. I'm just telling that component to go ahead, render each photo for us, right? So that we saved that. That's not going to show anything because it's not, I mean, it's not going to show anything. Reason for that is because we're just looping through something. Now we're going to go to Mars card and then set up this import. Just let me know if you're confused about anything. I'm going way too fast, I know that, but let me know if you're confused about anything. I'd rather slow down and miss my other appointment at 8 than you confused about something. I'm just creating this component now. I'm going to say return. I'm going to return a basic JSX here, div. You can call that whatever you want. It doesn't have to be div. And here I'm just going to say H2 images, one image. H2. And the last thing is export. Okay, save that. It's just going to show 26 things that say one image. It's not even rendering, but yeah, stolen dependencies, this and that. Okay, so now what we need to do is this props, we can console log it. I always console log props because I want to see what's in there. Props, inspect. It's not rendering that. I don't know why.
You didn't import the last one.
I didn't import it.
Yeah.
I imported Mars card.
You did.
Yeah, Mars card, and then Mars card. Here I pass the photos. Let's not even pass anything here for now. So we can just render. Okay. So it shows that here I cannot. So yeah, so that's what I was saying about this. It doesn't want all these like long chain stuff. So let's do destruction. So destruction comes in handy because I think a map doesn't work with like long chains. So we're gonna see here photos and not from props dot rovers. And we're just gonna do that. Hopefully that works. still not working. Okay. So cannot read the property of map.
Is it?
I think the problems come from because photos is not a this is not an array.
Is it photos dot photos dot map?
I think no, I think it's a photo. Let me just console log. Let me just comment out this part, and I just console log it again. So as you can see, each one it's its own object. So we need to put photos in an array. So that's what we need to do. We need to put it like this. We need to do something like that. So as you can see here, it's in an array, all of them in an array. So what I can do is here, I can just put it in an array like that, like this, like that. Hopefully that will work. Okay, so that got rid of the problem. So usually when you do in map, you have to do it with an array. It will not work without an array, right? That's why I usually just set this up with empty array, because I know that eventually I have to map over something. So that's why I made this an array. Our original one, the rovers, was an array because I set it up here, right here. But I didn't know that photos was inside it. So here we could actually just set everything to photos. I mean, we could just say set data.photos, but we already did the whole thing, so we just go with it. That will automatically put the photos in an array if we did that in app.js. So now we're good. So now let's pass here photo, and then photo. Now it's going to render a lot of one image here, one image here. Hopefully. No, it didn't. Okay. So we have a problem here. It's not passing that. It's not sending that data. Why is that? So each one is being we're sending it to here. We just console login props. We'll call it Mars card, just to make sure that which. So Mars card is showing that, but it's also, we're having a problem with, we're not looping through the photo. You're right. So it's not photos, it's a photo here, I think. Yeah, this is confusing. Okay, let me just console log here again. Let's call, okay, Mars images, photos, not photos, props. Okay, so we want Mars images, so rovers, photos, okay, photos, and then each one of them. Okay, should have worked that way. But now it's basically, this is each photo now. It's like, I mean, it's not each photo, it's all the photos. So we have photo. So now we have to map over photo itself. So we could do that. I mean, we could do that, it's fine. We could do it here. So let's do that. So it's just the photo, it's props.photo, which is an array. Okay, let's do that. So there's different ways of doing things. Sometimes you have to look at the data and see how you can render. Usually I don't like rendering. I don't like doing mapping over like a card, but if you have to, you could do it. Props.photo, and then we're just gonna say .map function, Okay, and then we're gonna say this is a callback function, so we're gonna say image. Let's just call it image for now. So here we can say return. Let's return one thing. Let's return like a like just maybe the date or something. So let's call it p and do here image dot earth date. I think that's what it was called. Okay, so save that. Okay. Okay. No idea why it's doing this. Let's go back. I think that'll help. I think we shortcut it. We did shortcut, and that kind of messed up for us. So let's do here photos. Okay, we're passing photos here. Now, if we go back to here, we don't have to say rovers here. We can just say rovers here. And then instead of that, we do here rovers and save that. 25, okay, 25 errors. That's fine. And here we let's just not do this for now. Let's just show h2 test h2. Yeah, so that's what I was looking for. I was looking for like 26 of this. That means it's rendering the data. Now all we have to do is just grab, destructure the data, and let's see what this gives us. Mars card. Okay, I don't know what keeps going. Mars card. So it's giving us photo, and it's one photo. So we render each photo is right here. So now we could just say props.photo. So here we do destruction. Just to save time, we're gonna say we need a earth date. I think that's what's called. Okay, it's fine. We'll correct it. But just for now, let's keep that props.photo. Because that's the prop name that we passed here. That photo. Okay. And we want what's inside. So instead of this, let's render earth date. If you choose earth date, it means everything else is going to be fine. Did I miss something here?
Yeah, the R in the
Of Earth.
first.
Yeah, I missed it. Yeah, earth date. Okay, so as you can see, it shows all the dates here. So we can show anything right now. We can show, so we have the earth date, we can show the image. So let's actually show let's show, let's cancel out here because we want to know the name of it. Let's say props. Let's show, we're going to say photo.rover dot name, right? So here is the name. So instead of this, we're just going to say, let's grab, so let's grab here rover. So this is going to be a its own array. Is it array object? So we're going to do it differently. So we're going to say, we're going to skip the destruction. We can say props dot photo dot we can say dot rover dot name. So let's hope that works. Yep, it's a curiosity. And here we're just going to show the image. So we're just going to say image source is equal to, and then we're going to call it what is it called? So the image would be image source. So this would be the image source here, and we have to have the alt here somehow. So I'm just gonna say rover, just to make it easy for us. We didn't import this, so image source. Do you guys understand what I'm doing here? What I did here and what I'm doing here. Meila socotantas. Okay. So this one, instead of doing destruction, because rover itself is its own object right here, I skipped the destruction. I just went straight to the props.photo.rover.name, which is rover and then .name. This. Right?
And how come they're all showing the same name?
Oh, because that's all of them are the same name. They're all from Curiosity. So if we go here, any of the photos, it's taken with Curiosity. So you see Curiosity, all of them Curiosity. So that's why. And here I'm just going to show the date. So I'm just going to say Earth date and close it. Not that. Okay, save that. So that should show an image, the name of the rover, an image, the date. So just these are all the images that happened that day, I guess. And we could like make them smaller if we want. We could do a lot of things with it. So, so that's generally the process. It's basically first grabbing the API, making sure you understand what the API is, console log it, understand like the different parts of the API, and then setting it to the state. So whatever you want to show, whatever you want to map over, if you want to map over it, set it to state. If you don't want to map over it, then just set that data to state and then pass it as a prop here. So have another component that shows, and then you could go to that component and then bring the data through props. So it's going to be in here. You could destructure it if you want to. Make sure that whatever you're mapping over is an array by console logging it and seeing if it's array or not. It's gonna say it's array or not in the console log. So this is object. If you look inside the object, this is still object. But if you look at, let's see, so this is an array. So that's how you know something is array. It's by the either saying array or it's gonna show that straight brackets. Any questions? So that's generally how you kind of render everything. For the one you guys have, I think it's a Star Wars. Just we skipped actually the navigation. So I mean, we could go over the navigation. Let me update the other students that I had appointment with. I'm gonna tell them we're gonna be late for maybe 15 minutes. And then we're gonna go over the how to make a URL like navigation. Okay. So okay, give me a second. Okay. All right. So any questions so far? I think let's take a break. Let me go pray and then come back, and then we can finish the what do you call the navigation, inshallah. Okay. So we'll take like 7 minutes, 7-minute break. Okay, I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, let's get back to it. All right. So حاسبين navigation كسمين now. Let me know if you guys can hear me.
مقلن.
Okay, so we're gonna do the navigation. So now our application looks like this. It just shows a bunch of images. Let's see if there's any description of what these images are. I don't see any description. There's a full name. I mean, that's the camera. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a one link for all the images, and then another link for like the camera. So we're just gonna show the full name of the camera and the camera name. We could do that. We could have one page with just images and another page with just information. But I think just the one image will not make any sense. So let's do that. Let's show the camera in one link or of one section, and then let's show the images in one place. So we need two links, right? So to do that, we have to create a we have to make this a router or route. I mean, not router. We have to make this a route, and also we have to wrap our app.js in index.js a router, the router package. So let's import that. Let's import here. This is how you, I mean, this is how you do it all the time. So when you have this, like the index.js, you could just copy this, exact index.js or the other one we did. Usually it's going to be the other one we did, the one from the lesson. This one has this route element and has nothing to do with the normal React. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna import something called browser router as router. This is the usual way of bringing the router from React router down. Okay, and now we're gonna wrap this around the app. So we're gonna just do this. We can just remove this strict if we want. I mean, it's a recent thing that was added to React, and we could just replace the restrict mode to router. Exactly how it's written here. And we can just delete that. That's it, save that. Our app still works. Go to app.js and import a couple of things. We're gonna import route. And we did all this stuff in the first lesson for the router. So we did the same thing. So if you just want to copy from there, you can do that too. We're gonna import link and also switch. So we're gonna say from React router down. Make sure it's React router down, otherwise it will not work. So this is gonna be a route. That will be the home route. So, and also we have to put all the links in here, the navigation. So we have to make this a component too. Import React from React function. This is going to be navbar. This is going to give us a navigation. We could put all this stuff inside the app.js. Really, I mean, to make it simple, we could just put the links right here. But this is a easier, better way of like practicing, because it is all the links are in one component and you don't have to worry about them. So in here, we're just gonna have one div here. And we're also gonna add a couple of links here, 2 links, not a couple. A couple is 2, I think. So we're gonna import the link thing, the link package from React router down, because that's the only thing we're going to use. So here we're going to create a link. I think it's a link here. A link, and we're going to do the first one is, so remember how we said, no, actually the links are fine. You could order them the way you want. I mean, I'll order them the way that I want them to appear. So that's what I would do. So this is going to be the home. So we're just going to do that. And we're going to say, this is going to be home. Well, let's call this photos. Link. Another one for the camera. So link to, I'm going to say this camera. Okay, so now, so if we go back here, what we're basically looking for is, so we need to think about the way to render the camera. So do we need to link it to each photo, yeah, and then render the camera? How do we do that? So this has its own ID. What we could do is we could render by the ID, or we could just pass props basically down and then just render the camera. So that's what we can do. So what I would do is easier to just pass the same way we passed, the rover. We pass the rover again to, we have to create another component for that. To another component, we're going to call it camera. So let's create a component called camera.js, and then render the camera information there. So it's going to be exactly the same as we rendered here in the card, but we're going to do the looping within the camera. So you could also create like a camera card, render loop through the information here, and then pass that information to camera card. But we don't want too many components right now. But the proper way to do it is just pass to another component. So we have the link here, not finished yet. So we're going to see here, camera link. So we have the two links here set up for us. So now we need to create a route here. So when I'm creating a route, I'll start with the switch. So the switch makes sure that we only visit in one link at a time. So we're going to say just a switch, and then we're going to put another switch here. Switch. And here we're going to render the route. So usually the routes, you have to make them proper order. The routes that are less more specific, like the one at home, you put it underneath. The one that are more specific, like the camera, you put it at the top. So we're going to see here route, and then path. So route is a basic line if statement. It says if there is a link, if there is a URL that has the path / then render this component. That's basically what you're saying. So that's what we did right now. So we're saying if there is a link that has the path, then render that. And also we have to import the navigation in here, otherwise it will not show anywhere. Nav bar, just like that, and import it here. It's not styled or anything. We're just doing it in a raw way, with no styling. So the styling is, you can do styling yourself. So usually I would do with React Strap and Bootstrap. So I'll not worry about it. So we did that, and then we need another route here for the camera. So let's do route to, not to, path. This will be camera. So it's gonna look for a link with that, and then it's gonna render the component inside. This will be a route. So we have two routes now, 1 and 2. And this one is sending us to this component by using this. And this one is gonna render the other component, which is the camera. And also we have to import that too. We're gonna pass the same information right here. We could also say here, like, we're just gonna pass the same information to make it easy for us. We have to import this. It's gonna give us error. Otherwise, camera from camera. Now, not navbar, camera. Now we need to go to the camera component and work on that. So now if we go here, we have an issue on, yeah, because we didn't even do this component. Okay, React from React function camera props. We need, because we passed props, remember? Return some JSX. So I'll just say div. I usually don't do anything until I see the component rendered. So I just say something like camera. Export default camera. Now we shouldn't have issue. Okay. Element type is invalid, expected string. You likely forgot to export, which I just did. Save this. Navbar, we didn't export. Yeah, we didn't export this. Export default navbar. Is that what's wrong with this? Export default. Oh, okay.
Default is spelled wrong for navbar.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. All right, so we have two links here. I mean, there's nothing here, but it's actually two links. So the camera, if we click it, there's nothing here. It just says camera, which is correct because we just put this, not this, just put this in here. And when we click photos, it shows the photos. So it's working perfectly for us. Now all we need to do is we need to loop through the data from here, from props, and then we need to show the camera. I would pass to another component, but for the sake of time, let's do that. So so we can do the same thing as Mars images. So this is what we need exactly. We can just copy and paste it here. And we need the same mapping. So just like this, we need to map, but we're not sending it to another component, right? So we're doing the same thing, but we're not sending it to another component. Now, photos, we don't need the photos. We need to show the camera. So we're going to say photo.camera here. And we need to, let me just render a, let's render a like a paragraph. So we're going to say here photo.camera, and we need one more thing. I think it's a camera name or something. Camera dot name or full name. Just say dot name, and then close this to B. Save. So when we click camera, it shows the camera name. As you can see, some of them are similar, some of them not. And then you could just do different things here. So if you want to render multiple elements, you have to remove this and change this to this straight bracket. And also we need this straight bracket here. And then after that, you have to render it that way. Let's see. Why it's not doing that? Okay. Let's change it to curly bracket. That will not work. There was a way of rendering it. I forgot. I usually don't render this information inside inside this. So yeah, but we could quickly make a component, so it's not really a big deal. So we could say camera card.js, and then just make a quick copy this, paste it here for the sake of time. Just add this card here and then export it. And here we're just going to use the same card for here, and then do the same thing. So we're just going to do the same div. I'm going too fast here, but I just want to show the information that way. And here we did this, so we're just going to pass the same thing instead of rendering inside the map. So we're going to do that. And this is going to be a camera card. Import it. I didn't do that before. And this is going to be photo.camera. Yeah, photo.camera. Save that. Camera card. It's going to be here. Instead of photo, we're going to call it camera. So it's going to be camera. So actually here we could just say dot camera and then name, full name, right? Because that's what we're looking for. And then render those. So I'm gonna say here, full name, and then name here. Okay, let's see if that renders. Yep. So that renders. So this is the full name, this is the name. You could do so many things with this. Photos, this is the photos, this is the camera. Any questions? Sorry, I went too fast here. I didn't want it to worry about showing the information here because there's certain ways of doing it, but it's a little confusing. Any question? So we did for the navigation, we went here, we added switch, and then inside the switch, we added a route, make sure the route that is more specific, like /camera is more specific than just a slash, put it on the top. If there's another route that you have to go to like a ID or something, put it on top of this. So the one more specific goes to the top. You just say route, and then it checks if there's any link that has the camera /the camera, which we put it in navigation here, which is this one. And if that's the case, if that exists, then it says go ahead and render this component with this data. And then when we do that, this component says, oh, okay, thanks for coming. Now I'm gonna render this component with this data, right? And then that component renders this data. So that's how it's all connected. Any questions?
Can you send this to Slack?
Sure. Let me save all. Let me share the link, the main link. Where's it? What did I do here? So for the question mark. So all you're doing is just following these examples. And I shared a few other examples before. For example, the one for, let's see, this one. This one is what another one we did. This one is for like mostly adding things. I think it was, which one was it? Is it the route? This one is like adding stuff to, yeah. So we did something like this, form builder, something. We build another one, where was it? We built the cat one, cat API. This one also like for the Mars. Mars, then I mean like the daily image, NASA daily image. So this is NASA daily image. It's very similar to that. So if you refresh, it's just going to show another cat. A GIF here. So, and also I showed how to do a little bit of styling with, I think it was, no, I think that was just normal CSS that we did. So I shared a couple of examples of different things. So you could use all those examples for your benefit. We did another one for like a movie list. So this one is a movie list. So if we go here, it renders some like, what is this? Movie list. No, this was the assignment, I think. No, not assignment. Yeah, this is a little bit different, but yeah, this one renders the data here in this component, and you could do that. That's fine too. It renders films here. Yeah. So we did like several examples of how to render things, different ways of importing the state, different ways of importing API and setting to state, and then creating a route or navigation. So use all that for your benefit, and then come up with how to solve all your problems. And let me know if you have a specific issue. Just take a picture of it, send it to me. If you're stuck, send it to me. Let me know, inshallah. And we'll move on. So I'll give you today. Tomorrow is you're gonna be still working on this. So we're gonna start the next lesson. The next chapter is gonna start on what day is it today? Calendar. So today is the 12th. So tomorrow you're going to be working on this, because we kind of have a lecture tomorrow. We have another class. I have another class for lecture. So on Wednesday, that's when we're going to start the new class, the new lesson, which is we're going to start the forms, the act form. All right. Any question before I leave?
Ma'alin, what is the schedule going to be look like for Ramadan?
So the schedule, I'm thinking of changing the lecture and moving it a little bit to the end of the day. So around pushing it around like, so now our schedule is usually 4 hours from 6 to 10. So starting around like 8. Because mostly I'm not sure where the Maghrib is going. I'm not sure if it's going to the 9 area, or I think it's going to the 9, like it's going deeper that way. So we have to figure out a way to do it either before the Maghrib or after the Maghrib. So, and inshallah we'll try. Maybe we'll start at exactly 6 and then finish at like 7:30. Then you guys can go ahead and do the Maghrib. I mean, like that's for Minnesota. For Ohio and California people, California is going to be fine. You guys going to be behind 2 hours. Abdushi's not here, I think. Ohio, are you guys 1 hour before us or ahead of us?
Yeah, 1 hour ahead of you.
If it's 1 hour ahead of us, then I think if we start at 8, or 8:30, then you're gonna be fine, right?
Our Maghrib is like 8:20, 8:30 our time, which is like 7:30, 7:20 your time. So I don't know.
I think we could either do it ahead of time or we could do it later. So I'm gonna work on the schedule inshallah for tomorrow. Tomorrow on kashaqana schedule ka, and then we're gonna come up with the time that works for all of us. So hopefully we're gonna do it before the Maghrib. So it's an hour and 30 minutes. We can finish in hour 30 minutes most of the time, but max it will be 2 hours. Okay,
Thank you, Dan.
no problem. Okay, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you have any questions, otherwise, see you on Wednesday, inshallah. Keep working. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.